Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome to the channel. Today we're going to talk about what it's like to stay fit, juggle a career, start businesses, start a family, go back to school, start school again, all while trying to keep going with your CrossFit career and maintaining a healthy lifestyle, which we all know can be hard to do. So I have with me today the myth, the legend herself, right? Regional athlete and all around badass. Just happens to be my first guest today, and my wife, Rachel. So Rachel, welcome. Thank you for being my first guest. So knowing that you have a big history in CrossFit, I was just hoping that you could share a little bit about your story, how you came to be involved in CrossFit and kind of where that has led you today.
Okay, well, thanks for having me. I'm honored to not only be your wife, but to be your first guest. So thanks for having me. But gosh, man, I think I started CrossFit in I think it's something like 2008. It was introduced to me. I started doing it on a military base of all places, and I actually formed a small group of friends, and I sort of was in transition in my life, and I know you know the story, but it's kind of fun to tell it. And I was moving back to Alaska, and that's when I thought, oh man, I really want to do CrossFit. Like, I really, really like this. There's no way there's a gym here in Alaska. And turns out there was. And I was shocked.
Shout out to CrossFit Alaska.
I was shocked, to say the least. But I hopped right in, head first. And basically, I'd already fallen in love with the sport. I remember watching the CrossFit Games, like the 2007 CrossFit Games, 2008, when it was really, really early on, and just being like, man, I could do this. And just being incredibly excited. And obviously, one thing led to another. That's how I met Clay. And, he was the owner at the time. I had quit my job. I was working in a professional setting and was going to school because I had wanted to go to PA school. And so I was working in the medical field, and things, just kind of changed, just as life does. And Clay and his partner split. And because Clay was a full-time firefighter, he couldn't run the gym anymore. So I quickly volunteered to quit my job and took on the role of being the head coach. And, as I married Clay, became my gym as well. But it was really something that we did together. It was a passion that we definitely shared, especially competing. So, Clay says ex-regional athlete. So I qualified as an individual a couple of times, or 3 times, qualified on a team twice. And so I had a lot of fun doing all of that. I feel like in sort of like the early days of CrossFit. I guess not early days of CrossFit, but
That's pretty early for most folks.
Yeah.
You're going back to 2008. Those are the early days for most folks who haven't been around. So I think that's fair to say.
For sure. So, ran the gym for quite a while. Things changed, and we were ready to move on and get out of Alaska. And here we are. I'm now 40. We have a family. And I am now pursuing going to PA school again. In fact, I got accepted to the Idaho State program, and I am starting in August. So I'm very excited about that.
So you're also still coaching and involved in CrossFit.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. After having a baby, I really needed a little time off, and I think I was just kind of burned out from being, head coach all day, every day. And starting a family was just a huge change for me, especially, later on in life. I was 36 actually when I delivered our daughter, and has been an amazing experience, but it also was one that was hard, really, really hard for me, going from a very competitive athlete and being somebody who's very relevant to someone who was like, man, I was struggling. And I sort of lost my competitive edge, I felt like. It was really hard to come back.
Just a little, maybe. Not against me, right? Not against me.
That's true. But it was really hard to come back. So we sold our gym, in 2017, shortly after the birth of our daughter, and we moved to Idaho. And I pretty much I continued to do CrossFit, but I pretty much did it in my garage, or we did it in the garage. And I just thought, oh man, this is just it for me. I guess this is what I'm doing. But it turns out I got recruited by a local gym to come coach for them. And I thought, you know what? Okay. And it really, I had taken the time I needed, I think, and it really sparked my interest in my competitive nature again. So again, Clay and I got involved, and we've been involved with that gym for quite a while. And in fact, actually, over the last year, I actually coach at another gym as well. So that's just been really fun. They're two totally different communities, but I really love each one of them for different reasons. And so that's been really fun for me too, but it's nice to not be the gym owner. It's really, really nice to just be a coach and an athlete. So, yeah.
Yeah, so obviously you have been around and involved in CrossFit for quite some time, all the way back till 2008. You took a little bit of a break. Now you're back. You're still coaching. I know you're still competing. Shout out, you just won the last competition that you were involved in. So CrossFit has still maintained a major part of your life. So since you've been involved in CrossFit for so long, you've been a gym member, a gym owner, and you've been a coach at multiple gyms. What are your thoughts on the current state of affairs with CrossFit, all the different things that have happened with Dave Castro leaving and Greg Glassman being out and the changes to the semifinals and everything that seems to be going on in CrossFit right now, and rumors about Dave Castro possibly coming back. What are your thoughts on that?
If I'm being really frank, I think it's a shit show. I think literally since Greg Glassman has left, the lack of leadership in CrossFit has it's been so evident, and I feel like all of these things are falling apart at the seams, and you're starting to see them pop up. When Eric Rosa took over, and then, you didn't really see a whole lot of change. I don't know. It just didn't feel like it was very cohesive. There was a lot of grumblings, I think, at affiliates, and I think a lot of people just sort of being unhappy. And then we've just seen a lot of change, and I don't think change is a bad thing. I often think change is a really good thing, but in this case, we haven't seen any change that I feel like has been positively impacted the sport. And I guess that's just my personal opinion. And I don't know. I think just because of that lack of leadership, everything rolls downhill. And so, it has impacted the local events that we're having right now before the games, and all the inconsistencies with judging, and just even the workouts, and all of that stuff. So I just think, here's another point. CrossFit naming their CFO as their interim CEO. Wow. Get it together. Really, is kind of how I feel. I just feel like Eric Rosa came and took over, but really had no idea what he was getting himself into. And so, from that standpoint, I was really sad to see Greg Glassman go, despite what he said and all that. I don't think he's a perfect person, and I certainly don't think some of the things he said are appropriate. I'm not condoning what he did or what he said, but I know the many positive things that he did for not only CrossFit, but communities all across the world. Building schools. You could not name a person who is more philanthropic, if that's the right word. So
he's done a lot.
Yeah, he's done an amazing amount, and because we've been around since I would say the major growth of CrossFit, we know that history, and so I just give him a lot more credit, and then I think a lot of the more the people who haven't been around as much do. So.
Yes, well, yeah, exactly. You pretty much hit on all the points. I know there's tons going on in CrossFit right now and tons of controversy, but I know Rachel, like myself, we have been involved in CrossFit for so long that we do try to always give CrossFit the benefit of the doubt. We love CrossFit, and it's been part of our lives. It's going to continue to be part of our lives. So we do always support CrossFit, but like Rachel said, there's definitely a lot going on right now. But speaking of a lot going on, I did want to hear your thoughts, especially for men or women out there who probably a little bit younger than us, who are trying to decide what they're going to do with their lives, but they're passionate about CrossFit. So I know you mentioned you actually made the decision to postpone going to PA school. specifically to pursue a different opportunity, which was to be a female business owner, head coach, and run your own CrossFit affiliate, which you did for several years. And now that's a decision that you get to look back on, that you're revisiting going to PA school. What are your thoughts around that decision that you made at the time, and do you regret it? Was it worth it? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think even at the time I was so just engulfed in CrossFit and the community and everything that was happening with its growth. I was nutrition and just very passionate about just all aspects of where CrossFit was going. So I definitely don't regret the decision. I think it was one that was absolutely invaluable. There are many lessons that I can apply to being a medical provider. I wouldn't change that decision. I think it makes me a better, not only person, but just like a better provider. Just having that experience, I think it's just being a well-rounded person, which I think that I have a lot of different experiences that make me well-rounded. And so I think all of those things just help me be a better provider, or will help me to be a better provider. So
yeah, I'm just going to interrupt you because I couldn't agree more. We talk all the time, and I hadn't even thought about that. I mean, I know that a lot of people mention that, in a perfect world, we might take all of our nurses, doctors, PAs, NPs, etc., and we might actually require them to have some sort of an education in functional fitness or CrossFit in general, to make them better providers and to better understand an avenue that we could take through fitness, wellness, and nutrition, and not necessarily always medication based. So I think something we haven't even mentioned, that's something great that will help you. So that was a huge change. You gave up PA school for a little bit. You ran a gym. That was fun. Then you could have made the decision to go back to PA school, but then once again you made another pretty big decision, which was, hey, now let's add a child to the mix. And so that kind of was going to affect you as far as not only postponing school again, but after being such a high-level competitive athlete, you knew you were going to take a hit there. So just talk a little bit about some of the decisions that you went through when you decided that you wanted to have a child, and how that affected your training, how you continue to work out through that pregnancy and after that pregnancy a little bit. Because I know there's a lot of women out there who are dealing with exactly how to stay fit, how to keep their nutrition going, whether or not they should be CrossFitting through pregnancy. And so here's an expert right here. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, honestly, yeah. I mean, being pregnant was definitely an interesting experience, I would say. I mean, we made the decision, okay, and it happened really fast. I mean, we basically first month, pregnant. And I was very excited, but also pretty scared. But I didn't have a great first trimester, and then even more than that. I was sick all the time, not throwing up, but I was I felt like I was going to throw up.
But you were still coaching. Of the time. You were still coaching full time.
Yes,
during
I
the
was still
pregnancy
coaching
too, right?
full time. Yeah, but what's interesting about it was, I felt sick all the time. I had to take, some medication to help with that nausea. But the only time I actually felt good was when I was working out. And I would feel good through the workout, and I would feel good for at least another hour afterwards. So it was definitely something that was high on my priority list, not only for me personally, but for the health of the baby. And, it was something that I wanted to continue to do through my pregnancy and after. And I think it really helped me in a lot of different ways. I mean, it helped with the birthing process. It helped with my just my mental health, and it continues to help with my mental health. Working out is something that is very it's something that I really, really need in order to just process things, and just those endorphins and all of that. But anyway, I really, really did not like being pregnant. I did not enjoy it. It was really hard. It was
fine for me. I was fine.
It was really hard for me to scale and not have the same capacity. In fact, I knew right away that I was pregnant, because I was I don't feel right. I feel different. And not everyone experiences that, but I definitely did. And I felt like I could never breathe. the way that I could before and, after being pregnant. And so that was really, really hard. And afterwards was even harder because I thought, oh my gosh, lifting 95 pounds, like this feels heavy. And I took a good 6 weeks off even after the delivery. And that was by choice. I didn't have to. I could have started working out sooner, but I just didn't feel like I was ready. And so I took a good 6 week off and, came back very, very slowly, but also I was very surprised at how hard it was. And maybe that was because I was 36 years old and I wasn't, 25. But that was just my experience. It was very, very hard. And, being able to do something at a certain capacity or, having certain skills and then not having them, or having to work really hard to get that back was really mentally hard for me. And so I definitely don't regret it. I love being a mom, but it's hard. It's really, really hard to train through pregnancy and to come back afterwards. So all you moms out there, like, shout out to you because it's tough.
Well, speaking of hard, let's talk about this. So you did, we're gonna let the cat out of the bag, right? So you did just turn 40. Mm-hmm. You're still coaching. You have now applied and been accepted to PA school, which you'll be starting in the fall. So you have a 5-year-old getting ready to start kindergarten. You're still wanting to stay involved in CrossFit. And now you're going to be going to school full time. So I'm sure there's a lot of folks out there who can relate to being crazy busy and have to prioritize what they're doing. And maybe they think it's too late for them. Maybe they think, I missed my opportunity. So I know that's something that you've helped a lot of people with already, just talking about how, 40 is the new 30, maybe even 40 is the new 25. There's still plenty of time in your life to do whatever you want to do. And if you're passionate about something, you'll get back to it. So I think what would be really interesting for people to hear is, what are your plans moving forward? So CrossFit has obviously been a large part of your life. And you want to continue that, but it's only going to get harder for you. So talk a little bit about your decision to go back to PA school, how hard that was, and then what you think you're going to do moving forward to continue to keep CrossFit and fitness a priority in your life as well.
For sure. And I know, at the time that I sort of decided, hey, like, do I still really want to do this? I always had this in the back of my mind, like, do I still want to go to PA school? Like, do I still want to do this? And I wasn't really sure, after, owning the gym and being the head coach and then becoming a mom, I wasn't really, really sure. And COVID actually, I know this sounds really very cliche, but COVID was what really, like, opened my eyes to say, like, okay, is this really what you want to do the rest of your life? And I knew that it wasn't. And so I quickly, jumped back into the medical field and knew very quickly that I definitely wanted to pursue that again. But, in that time span where I stopped, like, pursuing that dream, and then to where I was before I'd made the decision to go to school, there was a lot of self-doubt in there.
You started another business during that time as well?
I did a lot of different things, and I was successful with them. And I thought, I could be really successful with this, or I could be really successful with that. And there was just, maybe I'm not smart enough to go to PA school. Maybe that just isn't what you really want to do. It's going to be really hard to get in. It's going to be like, I had all this self-doubt. And if you're normal, I think you do. That's just something that a lot of us have, is self-doubt. And I don't know, it was just really like I had to make a decision, and once I made it, like, I just went for it full force. And I realized that the time was gonna pass anyway, and that I could either, like, go for this now even though I was gonna be 40 years old, or I could do nothing, and then 10 years would go by again and I would have lots of regret. And I did not want to have regret. And, being a good example for my daughter, as well. Letting her know that, like, you can still go back to school. You can change your mind. You can change your career, like, do a complete 180, and that's okay. And, just, if you work hard, you pretty much can achieve anything. And so, yeah, it was definitely a hard decision, but one that I'm so happy that I'm finally doing. So I think I'm going to be Very, very busy when school starts.
Yeah, talk a little bit about how
Yeah.
you're going to think you're going to keep up. I mean, do you plan on continuing your fitness? I mean, what are you going to do about that?
Yeah, well, so I mean, obviously, being going to school,
Maybe it's going to get easier for me to beat you.
full time, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. And that doesn't count studying. Plus being a mom and all of that. I'm definitely going to end up having to give up my coaching, and I think that will probably be short term. I don't know. Coaching is another passion of mine, so I don't know if I will return to that after school. I certainly can't commit to that. It's not high enough on my priority list. Obviously I've got family, school, and then, my fitness. And so I'm pretty much, once I sort of get my schedule all figured out, then it's going to be in there somewhere, because I will go crazy if I don't.
We do have the full setup in the garage.
Yep. I will go crazy if I don't have some sort of like physical outlet. So, whether I work out early in the morning or when I come back from school, or a lunchtime workout, or, I haven't figured out my schedule yet, but I do know that, I'm off on the weekends. So obviously, Saturday and Sunday would be good days that Clay and I can work out together. And then the other days it's just going to be, do it where I can. But I know that it's going to help me immensely through school, just because it will be, that time that I'm not thinking about that, but I'm processing, and, just working out just really clears everything for me. And so it makes me a better mom, makes me a better wife. And I know it'll make me a better student as well. So it'll be sprinkled in. I just haven't figured out exactly when it's going to be there, whether it's, hitting us super early or late workout, or, lunchtime, but it'll be there. It'll be in there for sure.
Yeah, I pretty much think that you've explained very well today how for a lot of us, let's just say a lot of folks out there who've been doing CrossFit for a long time, or you want to do CrossFit for a long time, is that CrossFit in particular, right, fitness, but CrossFit is kind of what we're all passionate about. It's a journey. And I think it's awesome to hear stories of people who, part of their journey, part of their story, their life, it is CrossFit. And so whether or not you have put off things in your life to pursue CrossFit, and then you think maybe it's too late to get back to them, I think Rachel's a great inspiration of how she's just proven it. Like, it's never too late. Like, even me. So I'm about to hit 50, and I basically just want to retire, and I keep wanting to do nothing. And Rachel keeps proving to me that, hey, I guess if I wanted to go back and do something, that there's really no limits for me as well. I still have plenty of time in my life to pursue anything that I really wanted to do. And so you just have to prioritize the things that you want. So I think it's going to be fun. I'm obviously going to experience Rachel's fitness journey and her PA journey together, but I'm quite sure, since my parents, who are in their mid-70s, are still CrossFitting. They just did Murph this morning. My daughter, Maya, who's 5, is doing CrossFit Kids. So it's a whole family affair, and we know somehow we're going to keep CrossFit always a part of our lives, even as Rachel becomes more busy. So I want to thank you, Rachel, for being my first guest. I did have a long list, but somehow Rachel made it to the top, and just explaining a little bit of her story today, and how it is a journey and it can change. It's okay to have doubts, but if fitness and CrossFit is a priority for you, you're going to find a way to continue to do it. And if something else in your life is a priority, like going back to school or pursuing something that maybe you wanted to do when you were younger, Rachel's also showed us today that it's never too late to do that. So thank you, Rachel, for joining us. Thanks for visiting us here on the channel at Old Guy Inc. Do me a favor, hit subscribe, like, drop a comment. If you have a question for Rachel, she'll be monitoring the comments as well. If you want to ask any questions about what it's like to go back to PA school, to be 40, to CrossFit when you're pregnant, anything like that, Rachel's a great source. So take care.